Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending to our channel on Bright Talk. Today's session will be focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. It is the episode 1. Our special guest and expert here with us today is Denis de Montigny, PhD of University College of London, a fintech leader at CFA UK. He's also an entrepreneur, a fintech entrepreneur to be precise. Quick introduction about myself. Today I will be your host. If you are following our channel, I'm the Chief Investment Officer at Jessamine Midzi Financial Advisor and co-portfolio manager of Merrill Funds. Back 2014, our technological journey started in central London, where I used to work with at Edmond Rothschild Asset Management UK. He used to be the Chief Financial Officer and board member, and I was the lead fund manager of a physical commodity fund. By the end of 2016, I left the company in London. And the year after, Denis started his PhD at the prestigious University of UCL in the Department of Computer Science. Back at that time, I clearly remember our conversation which were focusing on the future of technology. It was our common passion. Obviously today, Intel is a professional and I remain an amateur. Before we kick off, the agenda today will be an introduction of the concept of artificial intelligence and machine learning by Denis. After that, he will answer my questions regarding his ongoing project as a fintech entrepreneur and researcher at UCL. If you have any question, please send him or to us an email. It will be provided at the end of the sessions. Please, Denis, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Marc, for inviting me here today and for the kind introduction. AI and asset management is a broad topic. As asset managers, we could discuss the impact of AI on the companies in our portfolio, but for today, we wanted to focus on what AI is about and begin talking about how it affects the asset management process and how we as asset managers can innovate successfully. So this topic is actually at the center of what I'm doing at UCL. The questions around the impact of AI and asset management that interest us the most can really be summed up in one word, which is disruption. How will our industry be disrupted by AI? And then how do we deal with it? So I like to keep you interested, Marc. So let's first look at disruption in art. Now, there are a few reasons we can look at how art dealt with technological disruption. One reason is to let history guide our actions now. Solutions that artists took and are taking may inspire us now. Another reason, although we won't be getting into that today, is that art is in fact disrupted by the same type of AI, by the same type of deep learning algorithms, and the same issues around data availability that are relevant for the asset management industry. Now, remember that the three factors that are really driving innovation are algorithms, hardware, and the availability of data. And by far the most important one for machine learning is the availability of data. So I'd like to discuss photography. This picture, called the Maharani of Nepal and Her Ladies in Waiting, was taken in or around 1885. It's from the Musée du Quai Branly. Now, photography came around in the middle of the 19th century. It had a very deep impact on art because it meant that figurative art lost its meaning. There was no longer any reason to paint pictures of wealthy patrons or their lands, so art had to reinvent itself, which it ultimately did in this next picture. We all remember the successful ones, Cézanne, Monet, Braque, Picasso, etc. We forget, of course, all the artists and artisans, skilled artisans who failed to reinvent themselves. Now, this is very relevant to us as asset managers. Photography was a new entrant in the art world, and it changed the industry, so to speak. This is relevant to us as asset managers because AI is bringing in new entrants too, and changing our industry. Users are turning to TikTok, for example, for investment advice. In addition, there's Google and Amazon who are softly entering the financial services through banking and later asset management. With their massive amounts of data, they would be formidable competitors. This is the kind of disruption that we as asset managers might be worried about. Let's turn to film. The next image is from a series called Westworld. The only thing which is real in this image is the actor himself. The robot, there's a stand-in for the robot during filming, but the robot himself is created in post-production. All special effects are by DNEG, which are one of the bigger players in the virtual special effects market. Now, there's several parallels here for us as asset managers. The use of technology in film is not new, like it's not new in asset management. Algorithms like the Black-Scholes option valuation formula, combined with portable computers in the 70s and the 80s, were used by traders for profit. But film has continuously embraced advanced forms of AI into its process. Interestingly, there are two questions that the film industry are not asking. They're not asking, how can we create films automatically? And they're not asking, are films created with AI all the same? Yet, these are some of the questions that the asset management industry is asking itself, is focusing on. How do I create a self-running robo-advisor? And if AI and robo-advisors take over asset management, will all portfolios not be the same? Now, for the first question, I see some of the main actors in London who are in this space, and some of them are quite optimistic, but some of them are quite skeptical. Nevertheless, I find it more productive to look at how the film industry is actually using AI. The film industry is using AI to improve customer experience, and they're using it to improve their product. And Marc, I would say that the takeaways for the asset management industry are the following. I think automatic asset management or automatic robo-advice is a holy grail. The aim is cost reduction. Alpha would be nice. No one's really found it yet. There are 100 startups out there probably working on the problem. Probably a few of them will succeed. But even if we get there, just as we have different funds today, we'll have different AI-based funds because we have different needs. There are different markets. There's also different forms of AI. And more importantly, just as in the film industry, there are small independent films who don't have all these grandiose special effects. And so in the asset management space, there will be niche markets, niche boutiques, who will continue to serve their clients in different ways. Nevertheless, I do think it's better to think in terms of using AI to improve customer experience, to use analytics to understand our customers, and it's better to think of how to use AI to improve the product and the process. So we can automate processes to do more. This is robotic process automation. In a sense, if we spend today 80% of our time on our equity portfolio and 20% of our time on our clients, wouldn't it be better to spend 60% of our time on our portfolio and 40% of our time on clients? Furthermore, one model for this type of thinking is what DWS, Deutsche Bank, is doing in London when they took a 30% stake in a company called Arabesque a few years ago. Arabesque is an AI company focusing on AI and ESG. So it's becoming DWS's virtual lab in a way. So that just lays the groundwork for what AI is doing in asset management and what we as asset managers can do. What do you think, Marc?
Yes, thank you very much, Denis. My first question is very simple to you. Why asset management and not special effects for the cinema? Because you are passionate about artificial intelligence.
Yes, I have a degree in computational art, but my PhD is in the use of AI for asset management. It's an interesting question. Most of my career has been in asset management. I'm a CFA. I was on the board of Rothschild's asset management company in London. So asset management is where I have expertise. and it's natural for me to be in that space.
Okay. So my second question is, why, as a fintech entrepreneur, what's going on at the moment on your side? And can you go a little bit, go into details what you are doing at the moment?
Sure. Well, let me tell you some of the things that I'm doing. Generally, I aim to help my clients, help customers innovate. So looking at the arabesque model, in a way, I'm a virtual lab for my clients. But more concretely, let me tell you about what I'm doing as an entrepreneur with University College London. So UCL is, with other universities, at the center of innovation in London. And today, postgraduate students are increasingly entrepreneurial. With UCL and a number of other universities, I'm pioneering a platform for innovation and entrepreneurship called financialcomputing.net. It's focused on distilling impact from postgraduate research and carrying research from one generation of students to the next. So the idea of this platform is to commercialize academic research with the students that have helped it happen, sort of like Facebook. So this platform is actually attracting quite a bit of attention from industry. It's an incubator, and it goes far beyond that because it's designed to explore many different applications of AI at the same time and to follow the successful ones to commercialization. So in a way, it's a platform to de-risk innovation. One of the most important projects that I'm involved in on this platform is creating a way for asset managers to rapidly identify the parts of their portfolios they should look at first in real time. So it's a product aimed at portfolio managers and investment committees. It's not a recommender system, but it does what AI is good at, which is looks at a lot of data and makes sense of it. So as I spent a lot of my career preparing information for boards and investment committees, it's natural that I try to use AI for that purpose.
Interesting. I know that you are working, you are like a pioneer on natural processing, which is something quite new, especially in the asset management. I mean, can you go like now a little bit in a detail about this natural processing setup?
Yeah. Natural language processing, it's a series of algorithms and techniques to make sense of text. So whether it's written or spoken. Like a lot of things around algorithms, the algorithms themselves are not new. People have been working on those algorithms for a very long time. Of course, we're improving the algorithms, and maybe algorithms are better by a factor of 10 than they were a few years ago. We get better ways to train them and so on. And we have better hardware, so things that used to be impossible to do because they took so long can now be sent to the cloud, run on 100 computers at the same time, and we get results very quickly. But mostly, natural language processing has been driven in the past years by the availability of data. And we have so much now availability to written text that we can train models much more efficiently. So natural language processing, the algorithms have been evolving, I'd say, organically, but the fact that data has been improving, accessibility to data has been improving exponentially. That's what's really driven natural language processing. Now, natural language processing, modern approaches convert words to vectors in the sense that, in a three-dimensional space, you can think of them as dots all over the place, in such a way that words that are close in meaning are close in this vector space, and words that are far apart in meaning are far apart in the vector space. So NLP can be used for sentiment analysis. It's used for that very much, but and the sentiment analysis can be very fine-tuned. There can be 20 dimensions of what are called sentiment. This is useful under some circumstances, but NLP can go far beyond that, which is important because in finance, the same words can imply different things for different companies in different contexts. So to me, it's certainly natural language processing, NLP, is certainly one of the most important areas in AI generally and in asset management specifically, because so much of the data that we use that takes time to assimilate is text-based. So in our case, we started using English and focusing on the US equity market. We're now looking at European markets, including the UK, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, as well as the Middle East in Arabic, and Latin America, and particularly the Bovespa, in Portuguese. So I have a team of 18 postgraduates working in this area in London, India, Rio de Janeiro, Luxembourg, and Denmark.
Thank you. My question now, my last question will be, how going forward, how is your visions? How you see the market? In which direction you wish to go?
Perhaps the most interesting work I'm doing, it's still in the early stages, but it's involves automating client acquisition for asset managers. So the approach combines things that are currently being done in other industries, as well as new approaches to machine learning. So it looks to make use of machine learning to help asset managers build their AUM using AI. So I'm always looking for ways to discuss with potential industry partners who would be interested in this project and in the previous one. But I think that in the future, focusing on client acquisition, understanding the client is at the frontier of what AI can do for existing asset managers.
Okay. Thank you very much, Denis. It was really a pleasure to have you. And we will see you on the next episode, because we wish here on this Bright Talk channel to try to dedicate some time on technology, and we are happy to have our expert Denis here with us. You will see us on the next Bright Talk. It will be more like a traditional approach, and I will discuss with you in January with our co-manager Marc, and we will discuss traditional approach on investment. Thank you very much to everyone. Thanks to you, Denis, and hope to see you very soon. And a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.